Hello, do you have a car that's all scratched up? Maybe the clear coat's peeling off. You want to make it look a little more presentable? Well, I did too. All the clear coat was gone. Look like this to like this. And I shot this car for the first time ever spraying a car. And it came out pretty decent. So, if you want to find out how to do the same thing, follow along in the video and we'll get there. Alright, so you can see just this one spot taking the clear off. This took me about 10 minutes. You're going to be taking a lot of time out to sand your car down because you got to get this clear off or it's going to look horrible. You can see how there's all these spots where I break through to the primer and sometimes even the bare metal. Don't be concerned by that now because, you know, when we get all the clear off, we're going to come back and hit this car with 400. We start off with 150, 180 to get this all knocked down. We are a little over halfway done now. Areas where your clear coat was good, I'm going to scuff that up with about 400 wet sanding so I don't have to sand anymore. I've been going at it for about 4 hours now, and paint work is really just prep. You spend more time prepping than anything. And so you can see you got to get that line off. I did the line with the 150, but the rest is just going to get the 400 wet sand because it's in good shape and I don't want to keep hammering at it. I wanted to stop for a second and show where these lines are here. You want to get those off as well. Get your sander in however you got to because you want to get those off now before you get the primer on and everything, but almost there. So just to be safe, I actually went on it with a 220 on my sandpaper to wet sand because I wanted the best chance for my primer to stick good onto my glossy clear coat that was left. So it's up to you what you want to do. These spots like right here, you want to feel those and see if there's a lip or, you know, you'll feel something. This is still a little wavy. I've been wet sanding it for a while. You want to keep the sandpaper as flat as you can. Use a block if you can. That always helps. If not, use the palm of your hand. And you're going to have stuff that is hard to get out, in which case, especially like on the roof. So when you have stuff like that, you want to go pick up some icing glazing putty. Now, you don't want to use a Bondo brand if you don't have to. But this stuff right here, glazing putty. This is for little jobs around your car. You don't put anything in it. It's just the putty. No hardener or anything. You mix that up, you know, to get it whipped, I guess. And then you put it on small spots in the car where you have imperfections. And then you sand that down in about 30 minutes or so in the heat. As you can see, I work outside. And my time for painting this car is getting slimmer and slimmer because winter's approaching. But you use that stuff, cover up little imperfections. I'll show you once I get this car washed. Wet sanded already, so I need to wash it now, get the soap, get everything off of it, because the next step is going to be primer. Now while your rust stuff is drying, you come back and, you know, some of these can be filled with primer, but a lot of them are pretty deep. And that's just because you hit the sand at an angle sometimes to get all the clear coat off, and that's really just my fault. So I'm gonna block sand, and yeah, I'm actually gonna use a block, and we're gonna spray this down, and you just want to keep going like that, and that is going to get it real flat. I want to wash it again, but it's better to do it now than have to do it all when you had the primer on. Finally, I've spent the entire day getting it to where we're at now. Everything is taped off. I picked up 1mm tarps from the Busy Beaver. 2 did the whole car. I got 4. But it is completely skirted off now. This is very high quality masking for me. Usually I don't even mask the windows, I just scrape them off. So we're going above and beyond here. Oh. Okay. I think I'm putting new headlights in anyway, but still don't want to get them. So you just do a bunch of walk-arounds and check stuff like that. Because you don't want to not get anything in your primer. And then you have to degrease it. So I am going to degrease because I am cheap. Instead of using degreaser, if you see my truck cap video, you'll see how I did this before too. You take one of these crystal tack cloths and spray away glass cleaner. Spray the whole car down. Wipe it down with this. It'll degrease it, so you're ready to go. Let's get to priming. Alright, well, we're about to start mixing up the paint. Got the mask on because I was running the paint thinner out through the gun, clean it all out, and it reeks in here. No ventilation. Horrible to paint. Still gonna do it. So, your primer, for those who don't know about mixing, your cup, real easy. You go to 4:1 for your primer, and you fill up one side to one number, and then the other side to the same number. Real simple. And then you have your different categories where you do the same thing. So it's still super dusty in here. Ended up cracking the garage door. Still don't even have a fan. I don't value my own life at all. Got 2 coats of primer on, 3 in some places that really needed it. Came out pretty good. Still could throw another one on, really, just because of how unevenly I sanded it. Because I went for a different method before I ended up using the regular sander and I really damaged it. But other than this run right here, it's pretty solid. Deck lid came out really nice. Ton of primer on it. It has 3 or 4 coats because it was so uneven. But yeah. That's going to be it for tonight. So it's a couple days later. Didn't all work out the way I wanted it to. Just like this is always going to happen. You should expect that. I want to put another coat of primer on, and then I'm going to wet sand it for paint and primer, or paint and clear. But it's 50 degrees right now. You cannot spray regular automotive paint. You want to be in the 60 to 80 degree range, especially when you're in an uncontrolled environment like mine. I got leaves coming in. So I can shoot primer at 50. So I'm going to put another coat of primer, one last coat, lay it on thick. So then when I wet sand, I have a lot to work with. All right, so I got the car pulled out. Got my 400 grit wet sandpaper and something to get a nice flat sand on. And I'm going to start going to town. If you see any bumps and runs, like I got a run here, it's like really the only one I got. You want to go a little heavier on that, but for the most part, you just want to get it a little roughed up for your base coat. Wet sanding all done with the 400 grit. Now we're going to go ahead and get this tacked off. Use the tack cloth and some spray away glass cleaner. A couple things to note while painting. I'm a beginner to this as well, so I make mistakes a lot, if you're beginning, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. It's just when you start painting, everything's so hectic. You're trying to do everything at once. And it gets a little, you make some mistakes. So what you're supposed to do, even if you see me not doing it, is starting off the panel and following through over the whole panel and off the panel with a little flick. And you want to overlap each paint stroke by about 50%. That's really hard to do on this car because it's massive. You know, it's just such a large amount of automobile to cover. And it's easier to do on your first coat, but when you start getting into second, third coats, like I did with the primer, it's so hard to see where you're laying it down if you don't have great lighting, and I don't. So, something to keep note of. There's a lot of good YouTube videos that you can look at to help you with that as well. All right, we got our base coat all done. So, gotta let this set up. Got about 4 coats on the car. Got it on pretty thick. Came out really nice. At least in the dimly lit garage, it came out really nice. We'll see what it looks like in the sun, but no matter what, it's gonna look better than it did. Sorry for the mask, I can't breathe in here. So here's the final result. It's a really close color. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. It's almost dry. It's been 3 days now, and it still leaves a fingernail imprint. So I've been keeping it in the garage. So much better than it was. But you're not going to get perfection on your first like 10 attempts, so I'm happy. There's a lot of texture in it, the orange peel, and I'm going to probably wet sand and buff that out, make it look a lot better. But for the first try, it's not bad. I got a run in the hood here and a couple sags and some spots, but that's gonna happen when you can't see what you're doing. Painting in the dark garage, it gets pretty difficult to see everything that's going on, unfortunately. But overall, I'd say a massive improvement. Just so everyone is aware of what you have to put into this, I have probably 30 hours of work into this paint, between sanding down and masking off, wet sanding, masking off, painting, clearing. It's a lot of work, and it's not always easy, but I think it was worth it, and I recommend anyone that wants to give it a shot, go head out and do it. It's kind of fun. Catch you on the next one.